So we before the break we talk about rigid bodies. Rigid bodies. Remember, rigid bodies do not deform. Do not deform. It is not easily deform or these things. It is do not deform under external forces. For all forces, we divide all forces into two groups. The first group is external forces. The other group is internal force. External force is this one. Internal force is this one. And for external forces are the forces which cause the body to move or make it at rest. And for external forces, we have two types of external forces. One of them is called surface force. Surface forces. Another one is called body forces. Let's go through the Chinese translation first. We have two types of external forces. One of them is called one type is called surface force, and another one is body force. Let me list all the forces. Let me write everything down before I explain things. Okay. I think there are a lot of words that I need to explain, but please write it down first, and I will explain them. Press the ceiling fan and the piece of paper. So you can so we have surface forces and body forces. Now you know some of the words and you know some of the words and let me explain others. So push-pull is so all forces are divided into two types. Surface forces are the forces that act on the surface of a body, like we pull the table and we push the table. It acts on the surface of the body. We are not acting on the middle of the wood. We are acting the force is acting on the surface of this piece of wood. It is not acting on the inside of the wood. So it is a surface force. It acts on the surface of a body. We are not acting on inside of the body. Okay. Surface forces act on surfaces. Okay. So pushing force, pulling forces are all act on surfaces, and then reaction forces also work on surfaces only. For example, if we stand on the floor and then the reaction force only acts on our feet. It does not act on other parts of the body. Is that okay? And then air pressure acting on if there is air pressure acting on the body, then it is also a surface force. The last one is electrostatics. Electrostatics is this one. Of course, you can say it acts on the whole body, but usually the charge, if we have a positive charge, then it usually flows onto the surface. Usually. On the other hand, we have body forces. Body forces act on every part of a body. If like gravity is mg, and it acts on every part of the body. Also inside the body, not only on the surface, but every part inside that has gravity. Another one is magnetic force. Another one is magnetic force. Magnetic force acts on the whole body as well. It's okay. So all forces can be divided into surface forces and body forces. These are all called external force. For internal forces are forces which hold the rigid body together. So let me give you an example. This is have you copied this? Okay, so I assume. So let's have a look on the right hand side. Let's have a look on the right hand side. This is like bungee jump, right? So let's draw a free body diagram on this part. We call this say a rigid body, and so we draw a free body diagram on this tower, and then we have R1 and R2, and we have the body, and the person is here, right? Okay. Okay. Not at the neck, but sorry. Okay. And so Of course, we all know that there is tension inside the cable, right? We all know that there is tension in the cable. But this force, if we consider this is a rigid body, this cable force only holds these two together, holds the person and the tower together. It is not moving the person anywhere. It is only, sorry, it holds the rigid body together, this cable. Of course, it has forces in the cable, right? Otherwise, that if the cable is broken, then the person will go down. Yeah. So now, if we consider this is a rigid body, this cable force is only holding the person and the tower or the platform together. So this is an internal force. This is an internal force. Holding them together, okay? So is it clear? If we consider this is a rigid body, then the force inside this cable is only an internal force. Is this okay? So we have external forces and internal forces, and between external forces we have surface forces and body forces. Surface forces act on the surface of a body, like all the forces we usually use, the push, pull, and reaction forces. All of these are surface forces. And internal forces, we are talking about gravity and magnetic force. I will talk about one or two examples later today. Now we have, before we move on to talking more about forces on rigid bodies, let's have one rule we need to I should introduce. This is the principle of transmissibility. Let's do the mathematics. Let's draw the diagram. Let's think about the diagram first. Now we have a rigid body. This is a rigid body, and we have a force acting here. So it will. So, for example, if we have a rigid body and we have a force along this direction, then it will move here, right? It will move here. And how about having a force here? It will also move in the same direction. It means for this rigid body, we have a force here, then the whole body moves in this direction, right? Or if it rotates, then it will rotate. Now, if we have a force, if we move the force backwards to here, we can see that the effect would be the same. That means it means that there is no difference putting the force here or putting the force here, as long as they have the same line of action. It's okay. It does not matter. It does not matter that the force is moving along if the force has the same magnitude and it moves along the same line of action. Is that okay? Let me write the word down, and I will write. I'll give you this page after the class. Okay. So you don't need to copy this. Remind me if I haven't given you before Thursday. So this one means this one. This rule means if we move the force backward or move the force forward, it is it has the same effect. That it does not matter. We can move it to the front or to the back, or of course to the center as well. Sorry, F prime is this one. So after, if you have finished writing, think about one problem. We have a pair of pair of tongs, and this called tong. We have this. We usually get food from at restaurants, and so we have of course we have one force here. We can have a force here, and it will if we put a force here, it will make it wider, right? If we put a force F, then it will become wider, and if we put a force here, then these two sides come together, right? So what we are saying this, but why F and F prime are different in this case? Anyone can anyone explain this either in Chinese or English? So in the upper part, then we have F and F prime. Then we say these two are equivalent. If we move the force to the front or to the back. But now we have a problem here with this thing we see it every day. If we put the force F here, then it will go farther apart. And then if we put the force here, then it will come closer together. So these two seems contradictory. Or is there an explanation? Or why is it like this? Anyone explain it in English or Chinese? Why is it like this? Because this one is everything we see this is the thing we see every day. So Can you get my question? Yeah, can you understand my question? So,就是说这个没有那个限制，它一定在质点上的，这不一定在质性上的。对。OK， 很好。那答案是这个呀，就是说这个不是 rigid body 啊。这个刚刚同学就是你说的那个问题非常好，就是说我提醒大家一次，这个没有，这个不一定在质点上，对吧？你可以这个，比如说这个力是 H 这样子，然后这个或者我换另外一个，如果是 H 的话，我可以就是我如果是 H 的话，这样子我这样子 H 跟 H prime 是一样的 ，OK 吗？这个明显不在质点上，质性上，可以吗？Is it okay? So we have this one is F would have the different effect of from F prime because this one is not a rigid body. You can say this is the combination of two rigid bodies, but the whole structure itself is not a rigid body. Okay, so this rule only applies to rigid body. It's okay. Then we have the vector product of two vectors, and I will. I think I will. I will write down the equations in the PDF file I will give you. So let's have a quick look. And the vector product is. Sometimes I prefer I like calling it cross product, and of course you have learned it. It is actually this one. These three are the same thing. So have you learned this thing? Yes, raise your hand. Okay, so you have learned this at high school, right? Therefore, you must know that B equals to PQ sine theta. And to calculate these cross products, we have if P and Q are like this, and P cross I would say P cross Q. Okay, P cross Q. P cross Q is equal to the determinant of this form. So it is B. It is wait. How should I write it? Something like this, and something like this, and I will, and for the equation, it is on page 90, equation 3.10. Please take a look at home, and I will go through it quickly on Thursday. It is page 3.10 and 3.10 and on page 90. Okay.